All right, this Hangout on Air is live. It's Alicia String here, always empowering success dreams. I'm out here in Nashville. I'm so excited today with the Millionaire Mindset Hangout, going to the deep insights, the overview of Psycho-Cybernetics. We're going to give a little book review, some highlights, and some really deep insights. And Valerie is here to help me, and we are praying that we can get Greta and Keisha, our regular people, on because they've had some family things that came up last minute, and they are not able to pop on with us. And I know they have some really good insights with reading this book as well. So we wish them the best and hope they can jump on or hop on here, or at least give us some comments sometime during this week or hangout that from some of their insights from the book as well. And if you can hear us, make sure you comment below and say where you're from. If you can hear me or anything, make sure we are live. So Valerie, come on out, share with where you are, and we'll get started on this book review here.
Okay, all right. Well, my computer's in the shop because I'm a single mom. I've got twin 5-year-old boys, and stuff happens. One of them spilled a little bit of water on the trackpad, so the computer is at the computer doctor right now. So I'm doing this from my phone. I'm single mom, twin 5-year-olds. I used to be an entertainment attorney, and I made a very powerful decision to basically make sure that I was really being able to be home with my kids and be able to do this so that I can be home with my kids and have a life that I love and talk about stuff like this that really feeds my soul. So that's me, that's here. And kid alert, they're asleep in the other room. They might pop up and run out, don't know. They have a tendency to come out naked, but I might be able to control a little bit more here with the phone if they do. So that's me, and I'm going to pass it back. You know, every time I say the naked kid alert, it makes Alicia laugh. I love it. So, but it's true. It's true. You stayed with me. They strip naked all the time. She's visited. It's like the kids just, they don't like clothes. Okay. So,
so I have not gotten my girl in that habit. Although we do take her shoes off. We'll consider that.
Yeah. It's like, I'm working on it. They understand they need to keep their clothes on when they go outside. That they got down. They got that part figured out. All right.
We're going into the deep insights of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Mallory. And I think just this first chapter is so powerful because it really aligns like the whole book and how you create your self-image. Because the title is called, you know, your key to living without limits. So it discusses in there several different stories, and one of them is called like a snapback effect. And I wanted to ask Valerie to help me out with this. You know, snapback effect is kind of where you're snapping back to those failures that you've had before in your life. You're reverting back to it. So what type of imagery or something helps you to confirm your change and not to snap back into failure you've previously experienced in your life?
Well, you know, for me, it's actually having an awareness that anything that has happened in the past is really as a result of me buying into a negative viewpoint about myself. It was just ideas, right? Negative thoughts that came across my mind that were not connected to reality. And as a result, I literally manifested the situation that I was in. And, you know, and it's, so it's really having that awareness and just reminding myself that it's not who I am. It doesn't matter. In my past, anybody, you know, whatever you're going through right now, your past does not reflect your future. Your present does not reflect your future. What is going to reflect your future is how you view yourself right here, right now, right? And I've come to the awareness of who I am, which is who we really all are. You know, these incredible beings that have love and courage and compassion, and we all have a unique way of expressing ourselves in the world. I really believe that. We each have a unique, and belong to anything anybody else has said about you or anything else I've said about myself in the past does not help the present moment. I used to think that somehow that meant being responsible. Look at my mistakes and I won't repeat them. But all that does is it pulls your vibration down. It affects your viewpoint of yourself. It's like having this warped identity, taking in this warped identity based on thoughts that have come across, and a continuation. It's like it can be like this repeated continuation of like, well, this happened, and therefore I must be this kind of a person, right? And that pulls in a negative energy, and it affects the way you think, it affects what you do, and energetically it literally affects what you attract. How I believe in all of that and how that works. And so you literally self-prophesize, you recreate it. And I did. For years I recreated it because I kept hanging on to something that happened in the past. And even if you're born into situations that might be abusive or whatever, I mean, honestly, I've even come to a different self-awareness on that, because it's like, how can I put this? And this may sound far out, but I believe having this belief is a much more powerful belief than thinking of myself as either a victim or thinking of myself as either having deserved to have been treated in some of the ways that I was treated, okay, as a child. And it's that I made the choice of bringing myself into a particular situation. I chose what situation I was to be born into so that I could realize who I really am, that despite what's going on in my circumstances and my surrounding, it's not who I really am. Who I really am is amazing, right? And to not buy into it so that I could encourage other people with it. And this is coming from somebody that was so tied into it. I mean, when I was a child, I was so, I bought into it so heavily, my situation, that I actually made a suicide attempt at age 10. That's what can happen when you buy into a negative belief, so what other people say, what happens around you. Okay, so this is, for those of you watching, go, oh, you don't know my darkness. I know your darkness, okay? So for me, because I did a lot of that snapping back for years, I did that, years and years and years. And I recreated abusive situation after abusive situation after abusive situation, over and over. I kept attracting it. Until I got this point, until I got this. This was like a major shift to realize that's not who I am. And that's really what it was, is just doing that and listening to audios and everything, and reading books like this that acknowledge that it's not who you really are. It's what you've bought into. And when you buy into something, that's what you create. I know it's a long answer, but it was a biggie. You hit me with a big one right up front, Alicia.
Oh, I think the biggest ones are in the beginning of this book. If you don't understand this first chapter, the rest of it really won't flow with you. So the first chapter, I think, really sets the tone and really sets the stage of what you need to accomplish in succeeding with this book, and how your self-imagery your self-image is going to portray. Especially this next, I love this story, and I love the way the author really portrays his experience in it, because it's the plastic surgeon story, and he really goes through his experience as a plastic surgeon, and the type of people that come to him wanting, surgery, and the reason why they need it, and what they're going to fix or anything. So this is probably like an off-the-wall question, and I'm always kind of stuffing out of the box, Valerie. So my question is, would you ever go in a physical image change or see a plastic surgeon?
Would I ever do that?
Yeah.
I did do it. I did do it. Oh yeah. I mean, I had a big nose. My nickname as a child was Nose. Okay, it was weird, but I had a very big nose, and I did actually at one point in time I had deviated septum and all that. And I was having issues, swimming underwater and flying and all that. But they could have gone in and just fixed the deviation, but I said no, I wanted to have my nose fixed. So I did, because I was very tied into a self-image of what I looked like because of being teased a lot about my nose as a child. So I actually did do it. And it's ironic, I actually have matching nose jobs, me and my mom. So,
Oh, wow. So did your mom have a nose job too?
Yeah, she did. But she would never tell me to do it. It was when I had told her that I wanted to do it, then they jumped all over it. They would never tell me to do it. But the moment I said, Mom, I want to do this, they were like, okay, let's do it. I was in my early 20s. When I did it. But I said I still wanted to look normal. I didn't want to have a little button thing. But yeah, I did do it because a lot of my negative self-identity was, I felt very self-conscious because I was teased about it. I was teased about it. But I know that if I had had a different sense of self, I probably wouldn't have cared. Because I know people that have noses just as big as mine, and it was when I was a child, they had a very strong self-confidence space, and they weren't teased, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting, but I did do it. Yeah.
So
I'm very transparent.
I love that. How did the
Yeah.
story react with you, since you've kind of experienced this and everything?
You know, it was very powerful for me because, you know, I had gone through for so many years, such a negative self-view of myself, where I had internalized what people around me had said. And I kept thinking that because I kept having situation after situation after situation where I was around very abusive people, like that, people, not abusive people that did abusive things. I'm being very clarify here. People that did abusive things. I don't believe anybody's inherently abusive. I just don't buy that. But it was a shift for me in a big way, because it's like realizing that, you know, those things happened because I bought into the first one. And then I acted in certain ways, and I attracted things in certain ways. My energy, everything, I recreated the same thing over and over again, right? And ever since I've transitioned from that, I attract the most incredible people into my universe, into my life, because that's how I see myself. And, you know, even like right now, I mean, I have the courage to be on here. I'm not wearing any makeup, right? And, you know, I just know that I can still reach and touch someone's heart. And in a way, it almost doesn't matter what my outside appearance is. It's absolutely irrelevant, because I have been moved and inspired by people of all shapes, sizes, and whatever. And it has you know, your physical appearance has absolutely nothing to do with your beauty. And it has I mean, I learned that it has absolutely nothing to do with your value. And it has absolutely nothing to do with what's possible in your life. I mean, seriously, in any way, shape, size, or form. But I was self-conscious as a child about it, and I recreated over and over a lot of different things. Even after the nose job, I recreated having people around me that manifested it, you know, that were like very abusive in many different ways. Even though I was, you know, physically on the outside I had beauty, I kept attracting folks that on the inside kept treating me in a very different way. So for many years, until I shifted this. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yep.
Keisha came on. I wish she could get some insights on that, but I think she's just listening in. Keisha, if you're ever out there, unmute yourself and share your insights. All right, so the plastic surgeon is, I love how this chapter is kind of like a workbook in a way, because it gives prescriptions and mental training exercises. And this one was powerful in the prescription that it feeds your imagination with what can make you stronger, more goal-oriented self-image you require to achieve your life aspirations. So it really gives you that this imagination is so powerful in a way that it really feeds who you are and your self-image. And the training exercise is pretty powerful. I'd love to hear kind of y'all's insights on it. This mental training exercises allows you to pick someone to study for 1 month, and you get intimately familiar with the way he or she thinks, and you sit down and have a conversation with the person and solicit advice and your coaching in your imagination. So I think this is kind of studying really deep insights of knowing more who they are, how do they represent themselves, what are some of their habits. You know, when you start learning a person, you learn, you know, how they think and how they determine some of their decisions and stuff like that. And I wondered if you guys have gone through this mental exercise or got any insights of how that has helped you guys.
I mean, I can speak to that because at the time, and it was something that I was doing anyways, but I dove into it into a very deep way. There's a gentleman that's connected to a business that we do. His name is Dave, and I was always, I mean, you know, they talk about, you know, you surround yourself, mentorship and everything else. Because he's very, very transparent in video. I was watching a lot of his video, you know, especially trainings, everything I was doing, but he talks a lot about the process. He talks stories about his process, about how he thinks and how he views things and how he views the world and how he does things and sets intentions and transforms things and even transforms his perceptions of what has occurred in the past to have a different experience in the present to affect his actions in the future. And he delves into that very deeply. And actually, when you get, you know, when you connect with us below, you know, when you connect with us in our community, that's something you can have access to in a very, actually very profound way, in videos and PDFs and everything. But I followed him extremely intently and very, very much of who he was in the depths of his life and how he communicated on different things. And it has been and it still is a very powerful source for me of encouragement, because this is someone that is constantly going through process and change and seeing the best of what is possible, right? And you know, not letting anything that has happened in the past hinder him, acknowledging if there's been a mistake, but obviously taking it and not allowing it to define him as a person, but seeing what's possible and how to learn from anything. Because we all make mistakes, but it doesn't necessarily need to, you know, when you know, we make everything that we do is mistakes and victories, but it's oftentimes sometimes the mistakes that move us forward and leap us forward the most if we're open to learning and not taking it in as some kind of a sign that you are a particular anything, right? A mistake is just a mistake. I love this analogy just with kids. I mean, and I keep going back to it, but a child that learns to walk, right? You know, they fall down when they first learn a lot. You know, if they were to just say, oh, I'm just this horrible person, I'm never going to be a walker, and I'm not a walker person, and I'm just this sucky person that has no balance. I mean, you know, we would never do anything. But they see us walking, right? They visualize us walking. They're using us as guides, right, for how to do this thing called walking, or anything like picking up something to drink, or you know, learning how to handle a spoon, or, you know, all of it, all that, just the physical world. I mean, they're doing that instinctively with us, right? And they don't take on a negative identity of, well, I can't do that, I'm not, you know, they just keep going even when they fall down. And it's a very powerful thing, because when having that change of perspective affects, like, so many, you know, like, even if you're involved, like, doing some stuff like, you know, on the internet or technology or anything at all, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know those kinds of things. I'm not that kind of person. I don't know how to do stuff like that. I'm a techno dummy and I don't learn things fast. I mean, all those messages that if you buy into them, I mean, I initially bought into it until someone said, hey, look at your story. Not true. You know, there's that person over there, knew nothing and just followed steps, just let it go, right? And that you can learn anything, and that whenever there's a mistake, it doesn't matter. A mistake doesn't matter. I would love, if I could, to talk about something that really moved me in the book, and it was where he was talking about, I forget which golfer it was. I'm having a little bit of a brain fart. I think it might have been Arnold Palmer, but he gives this story about him and how one of the things that he used to do is he would get to any of you golfers out there, you're going to really appreciate this. I'm a golfer and I love this. But he'd get to, you know, wherever he was, whether it's teeing off or the ball, whatever his next shot was, and he would look at it and he would visualize what he was going to do. He would, like, visualize a positive way of being able to do it, right? He would visualize that shot and he would do it, right? And he would see it first in his mind and run through the whole shot. And same thing with athletes. Like, the Olympic athletes, they have them do this. They would visualize the race. They would visualize what they were doing and their whole bodies and everything they would do. They would run the race in their minds. They would run whatever they were doing, their activity, like, experience it, and then they would do it, and they would do things. They would break records. They would do things that were seemingly impossible, right? And go past whatever limitations of whatever they might have been physically capable in the past, whatever might have been, you know, their quote unquote mistakes of how far they were able to go, whatever they were able to achieve in the past, let it go. Like, you let go of the previous shot, you focus on what's in front of you right now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what what that is. That's what leads to the result. And I actually had a real life experience of this where Tiger Woods was here in Los Angeles, and I went to, and I'm telling you a story on purpose here because it sinks in. Stories are going to help you sink this in. It's true. So Tiger Woods was here at some kind of a tournament, and I was able to go. It was at a private club, and I was able to go, and this was right before he did what's called the Tiger Slam, right? And it was raining that day, and but we were all out there because we wanted to watch everybody. It was pouring buckets. It doesn't pour in Los Angeles, and it was pouring buckets, and they were out there in the rain, and Tiger sucked his entire round. I mean, he sucked. His shots, I mean, he was so off. I mean, everything was off, right? And I was standing there on a balcony, sort of covered from the rain, and watching, and I could see down from the balcony. He was down after this round where he was just so really, really bad. And he was there at the driving range. And he was doing what's called his short game. He was having difficulties with his short game, which is like once you get closer to the green, shooting so that you get onto the green, right? And he was standing there, and he was practicing this one shot over and over and over. I watched him for an hour. I was mesmerized in the rain after this. And he practiced this shot over and over and over again. He did not let what happened to him in that round create any kind of negative perspective inside of him of what kind of a golfer he was. He didn't take it in and go, oh, well, I'm just a crappy golfer because I just had this crappy round. He did not let that mistake, that experience. He said, okay, I'm learning from it. I realized I need help with my short game. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to practice this one shot over and over. And sometimes he got it and sometimes he missed it. And you think about even the top basketball players, the ones that, they shoot they practice and practice and practice. Most of their shots don't hit the net. Most of them are off. But they practice and practice and practice so that more of them go in, and they don't allow the ones that don't go in to define them as their identity of who they are as that basketball player, right? For those of you that might do marketing and you place ads, probably the majority of them don't work. You got to find those one or two, those few that work, right? And then you scale the heck out of them, right? Or, whatever it is that you're doing, certain things don't work. If somebody's creating something into the arts, it doesn't work. It's the process of that. It was for me. It's an analogy for me that I remembered as it happened before I read the book. So I pulled that together. It was extremely powerful, and connecting the two of these things together.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit for me, Valerie.
Okay, really catch most of at least what I said, or was it all gone? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The second chapter goes into how you awaken the automatic success mechanism within you. And I think you discussed a lot of things in later chapters as well, so we might come back and discuss some of that. But he discussed in this chapter like the success instinct. What do you feel is an instinct to you that drives your success?
It really goes back to staying connected to audios and things so that I stay focused on a daily basis on really being present with who I really am and being conscious moment to moment of any possible negative thoughts that come in that I don't buy into them, right? And asking in the moment, what's next? It's just having that awareness so that when things come up, tech issues, whatever, anything in my life that comes up, it's having a practice of consciously being aware moment to moment of what I'm feeling and where my thoughts are going, so that I can monitor instead of living in reaction to my environment. It's bringing forth, like I'm bringing forth my light. I'm bringing forth what I have in my unique gift to the world, and being in that place of what can I bring, and not allowing anything in my environment to define me as anything negative, but just to be as possibly a reminder to go in and remember who I am. Because sometimes those things happen simply to remind, and sometimes it's just to go, okay, what do I do next? And being open constantly being open to look within for the answers and knowing that they're there, right? Knowing that the answer for what step next to take, even within a blueprint, there's always leeway of, what choice, what am I going to talk about? What's the next thing I'm going to say in this? And trusting my life in that, living and every day staying connected to what my vision is, knowing that it's mine in the present tense, knowing that it's always mine. I know that's a lot, but that's what I do. It's that process, it's that practice, that daily practice. And the more I do it, when I first started it, I 4 hours and realizing, I just went down that rabbit hole, pull myself back up and go, whoops, okay, I'm back to me again, and buy into it. And the more I did it, the less and less and less I go down that rabbit hole. And the more and more I'm in the present moment, and when things happen, I can go, okay, see it on the outside, connect into myself on the inside, and ask, what's next? How do I handle this in this moment? How do I handle this in this moment? And that's really been for me. That's how anything, everything amazing that I've ever done in my life, that's how I've done it, and that's why I continue to do it.
Yeah, I like the way that it discusses how you reprogram your self-image, and I like how you're being more aware, so you can know how to communicate that back to yourself. It really goes down into really exercises on this chapter to realign this, and I think it goes into how you develop that as a habit, because in his prescription he says read this chapter at least 3 times per week for 21 days.
Yeah.
So that should be 3 times a day, right, for 21 days? So you got to study it and digest it, and then you're finding your own examples out there of those limiting ideas about yourself that might be the cause and effects that you no longer desire. So it really is reprogramming your self-image into a habit, and those can be so powerful. I like the mental training exercise he gives as well, and the how you have to memorize the success mechanism that he discusses, and the 5 of them are aim, trust, relax, learn, and do. And going through that mental exercise, I think, takes you through that journey of the next steps that you want to apply inside of how you are able to reprogram your mind, because that can be so powerful when you're able to do this on a type of routine, type of habit that you can apply inside of how you reprogram your self-image of what you think about. So I always wondered, going back to the first chapter, if you are wanting a different, if you're wanting to get plastic surgery or something, if you go through this process before you go have plastic surgery, would it change your decision? Let's go back to that.
Hard to say. I don't know what to go back in time on all that. All I know is everything happens for a reason, and it's all good right now. So
you're funny. Okay, so number 3, I think chapter 3 is the most powerful one. I was listening to the Law of Success this morning and talking about imagination, the ignition key to your automatic success mechanism. So, and knowing all about imagination, does imagination change the way you feel?
Well, I think absolutely, because if you allow it, right? I mean, you think of I mean, the classic imagination story that I love to talk about is like, whether it's Christmas Eve or it's the day before your birthday, and you have present, right? And live and imagine in your mind, you'd be excited because I got these presents and I'm opening my presents. You can being excited about what's going to happen the following morning, and even though it's happening in the future, even though it's technically by time-wise happening in the future, you're living it in the present moment. Like I live it in the present moment, and it's that exercise that actually starts the process of manifestation, and it starts the process of activating, to be able to activate your own inner wisdom and instincts of what actions to take. I mean, I think of how powerful, the idea that they do with, with Olympic athletes, that they would run through a race that they haven't done, like, their actions, they're imagining in the moment, running through whatever it is, their activity for that Olympic activity, and then they go and they do something physically that not only have they never done before, that maybe no one in the world has ever done before, right? So they've experienced something before it exists. And that it's the key to actually to making it actually happen, because then your life and your body knows exactly what steps to take. You just follow because you've already gone through it, and you have a sense of what to do and where to go. I mean, I just think that's the reason why we have it, is so that we can live, and it's almost like you're warping time, you're bending time, as our friend Dave would say, you're bending time. But it is possible to do that. I think it's powerful. It's imagination that came up with, like, even like you're sitting at a table. Someone thought of this table I'm sitting at. They visualized it. They saw it in their imagination, and then they created it. Any work of art, anything like that, even the technology that we're on, someone saw it. I'm going to get really weird on you. Star Trek, they had those little communicator thingies. They're flipping up and they're talking to people. Well, I'm on a cell phone. Someone created what someone came up in their imagination with, of what was on that Star Trek thing. It was one of those geeks that came up with it too. But you know what I'm saying is, it's like, that was behind some of the tech on this. Imagination is so powerful and leads to real manifestation and reality of real stuff. I don't know if I went off on a tangent on you there, but it's kind of where
I think it's kind of natural, because I do this for every piece I play in the piano, for every event I go to, getting on the airport, and even like I remember in high school, before we go out and perform on the football field, our dance routine, we would have to be in a big group and listen to the music and visualize. We would either do our little motions with our fingers or halfway do it, not full out, but more so in our minds than, imagine what it was going to feel like full out when we get on the storm, because you got to visualize it first and then pull all your muscles and efforts into that performance before you go out there. So I think every event, every performance, everything that you're looking forward to do full out, that it definitely takes that mental imagination that you're working toward on there. So powerful. Did Keisha come out? I know she keeps trying to come on.
Yeah. We'll keep going. You're here with us in spirit, Keisha. You too, Greta. You too, Greta.
Oh, this one's powerful. I always wanted to know this one about you, Valerie. Discussing the secret of hypnotic power. What stood out to you in this section, and how have you ever experienced a hypnosis session personally?
Absolutely, I have.
You're so crazy.
I know. Well, here's the deal. I was traumatized as a child in the dentist's office, where they grabbed me and screamed at me and rammed needles into my mouth. And I could not, I had absolute post-traumatic stress syndrome. I completely and utterly freaked out about going to the dentist. Well, my parents knew a dentist that was like a child hypnotherapy dentist. There was such a thing. And when I had to have dental work done, I went to this dentist who did hypnosis on me, and then was able to do dental work on me without using needles. And I mean, I still remember sitting there, and it's like, the dentist chair is the most comfortable place in the world. Wow. But he did this whole thing, and I had this little spot post-hypnotic suggestion that when he pushed it, I would go down deep, deep, deep. And I know that he didn't actually use needles, because my mouth felt like it was numb while he was doing whatever they were doing, right? But then as soon as they were finished, I had full sensation in my lips. And if you've ever had freezing done in your mouth, you don't have full sensation in your lips. They're like puffed up and all that stuff, right? Well, that, so I actually had medical procedures done on me where I didn't feel anything. I felt pressure. That's all I felt, because that's what he told me I was going to feel. And so, I was highly motivated for it to work, let me say. So, and maybe because as a child I allowed it, but I think hypnosis is extremely powerful. It's very, very powerful. You can, and in a way you can use self-hypnosis as well, in the sense of, it really is just delving into your belief systems and believing what's possible. And there's so much more of what's possible than we think. I mean, there just is. After I experienced that, it's like, wow, anything is possible. Although you can't be hypnotized unless you want to be. You have to allow it, and I allowed it. So it really is. A lot of this is all about, it's about allowing. It's about allowing amazing things to happen. right?
Go with the flow. Let it go.
Yeah, let it go and allow. Seriously, it's a big part of it. It really is.
It goes into decision and tons of
Hmm.
other things. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, that's all of the outcome statement. And what we do, we're always encouraged to do 90-day outcome statements where we're living in the present moment of something in the future. And then we're asking ourselves, okay, what's the next step? What step did I take? This is a wonderful thing. What step did I take that made this happen? What's the big one number? And so you're think about this for a second. You're asking about something in the future that's happened. Even just saying that, something in the future that's happened. Just think about that for a sec, right? But it's like, and what step did I take in the future that happened? Like wrap your mind around it. But if you live in the experience of going, okay, I'm here and this is happening, and you ask yourself, okay, what did I do that was the most powerful piece that got me here? And then listen to yourself, and then you know, like, I've done that, and I've manifested crazy stuff. Literally following that, and we'll go, through much deeper. It's like it goes into great depth. Like I say, connect with us on the inside, and we can get you access to all of that. It's very, very powerful stuff. But yeah, and those of us that I mean, success. Like we had Sarita on here. Remember, Sarita was our guest, and one of the things Sarita does is very powerful, and she got made over six figures in 12 months doing something she'd never done before ever. Right? Never made that kind of money before, ever. And she would do this exercise. Someone told her to do it. And she would have it on her phone twice a day where she would live and breathe in the present moment. Did she buy and go, well, all I ever did before was I worked in a daycare and I was like an administrative assistant. No, she didn't buy that identity of herself. She listened to what was around her and said, you know what? She connected with somebody that she would live and breathe that identity of who they were. Kind of, she applied this. And one of the things was doing this, and twice a day on her phone it would remind her, and she still does it to this day, where I live and breathe in the present moment, her intention for what's going to happen 90 days from now. And she's manifesting it. I mean, and then trusts her instincts of what's the next action to take at all times. It's a very powerful thing. And person after person after person that's done this and, said, this is, I'm going to help make 100 millionaires a year. It's like, what? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. It's really believing in yourself that it's possible, changing that self-identity that it's possible, and using these types of tools to do things like what Olympic athletes do, or what anybody in business does, or in arts, or whatever, anything. And that's what's so exciting about this. It applies in so many areas,
Yeah, it can get in your insights and spiritually as well. So you have to be comfortable with that and how you explore that, because his mental exercise he gives in this chapter is truly meditation, and he describes in detail on how you explore that imagination, and he even gives steps that you can do it in like 4 steps. So it makes it real simplified inside there that you can do it. So make sure you read the book. You grab that chapter 3 and go through that, because I think if you are spiritually mindset, it should challenge you. It should challenge you to more of, what decisions you have to make towards your belief and what you want to feel comfortable in doing. Because some people are just not comfortable at hypnosis and just going, no way.
Well, but you can't be hypnotized unless you want to be.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you have to, there's no way that it works unless you allow it. You have to allow it. You have to allow yourself to program yourself for different things. It's
and that's
nothing
can
be done.
You have to trust the person who's doing that to you.
Yeah, but it's still not even a matter of trust, because you will not do something that is outside of your values. You just won't,
values, yeah.
unless you've allowed it. Because I mean I've heard so many stories of people, like, where somebody's been doing hypnosis and they're doing things, and all of a sudden somebody tells them to go kiss a woman, but this person is in a very committed relationship with somebody else and just snapped out of it and went, nope. I mean, there was a point where it stopped because he would not allow that. It was not something that was within his value set. And so although the hypnosis worked on other things because he was allowing it, when that suggestion came, wasn't going to happen, right? Did not happen. You cannot be hypnotized into doing something that you don't allow. Period. End of sentence. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
That's powerful to feel confident in that.
Yeah.
Chapter 4 goes into how to dehypnotize yourself from those false beliefs. And they go through this story and love the story of the false belief that aged a man 20 years. In this story, do you see how anyone can change from fear and gaining confidence? And what stood out most to you in this story?
That, you know, that often even our physical appearance can be affected by how we feel about ourselves inside. And I've seen it. Like, I mean, I would come across people that maybe were the same age as me that would seem so much older because of what was going on inside of them. And even myself, when I've gone through a dark time, and when I'd come out of it, and I look at pictures of myself of when I was in that dark time and when I came out of that dark time, and how much younger, you know, I feel. You know, I mean, younger I look even. I mean, it's just
Feel and look.
feel and look. I mean, younger feel and look. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty amazing. It's like, you know, for me, I'll be honest, like right now I got bags under my eyes, but I was up for several days straight doing my taxes, just so you know. But I mean, I had somebody recently tell me that
taxes will age you.
taxes will age you. Well, I was up for 2 days straight doing it. I was like, oh, I look in the mirror going, holy moly, what happened there, right? You know, because I was like, into the taxes, I got to get this done. I want to get it done, right? Because I wanted to get it done. We're going to, I'm headed to Nashville, and I didn't want to deal with it. I wanted it done before I go, right? All handled. So
Yeah.
it's handled. But you know, but it even had, I mean, I've had people tell me that I look, you know, maybe not right at the moment because I just did the taxes thing, but I look 10 years younger than they thought I was. I mean, I'll just be flat out. A lot of people know I'm 52 years old, and I knew people that thought I was in my 40s, in my early 40s, because of my energy and my essence and everything else. But I know there were times in my life where I was in darkness, that maybe I was in my 30s, that I might have looked like I was in my 50s. You know what I'm saying? So it's very powerful how that can affect even, you know, and the energy that we give out to people, everything. So, you know.
I'll just keep looking 20 years younger.
There you go. Because you do. She's a puppy.
I know people sometimes still don't guess what age I am. It's so crazy. Okay, the mental exercise for this one's pretty powerful. 30 minutes a day just to meditate and let go of that, so you can get those mental pictures of relaxations. And he gives you an example of 3 different types and really helps you really dive down to how different ways you can relax. And I think that's very powerful when you have specific examples that you can gravitate to and go through that journey and help you really understand that a lot clearer. Chapter 5 goes into how to succeed with the power of rational thinking. And this one's pretty powerful on the steps of belief, and I think we discussed a little bit of it before. How does this chapter challenge your belief about yourself, the world, and about other people?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my brain that particular chapter right now. I just know, I mean, it's to talk to the whole idea of just, you know, having the awareness that our thoughts are not who we are, right? We don't have to that there are thoughts that float by, and we don't need to believe every thought that crosses our mind, that we're not our minds. It's actually just this other awareness. I think I talked about in other Hangouts where we are not our minds. We are something, you know, we're spirit, we're essence, we're soul. I mean, who we are is not our minds. Our minds are just, and even our personalities are something we create by deciding to believe in thoughts that cross. Now, we can either believe thoughts of wisdom that might come up from, you know, my personal belief is that if it's positive and it's happy and fills me with excitement about the future and about the now and feeling good, then I'm going to take that in as part of me. And if it's something that's negative, it's not, because the reality is who we really are is not any of that stuff. And it doesn't matter. I've seen people in the same situations that you could quantify as negative, and the one that has this very powerful positive identity and self-perception and a way of looking at the world is going to handle and experience that exact same physical situation on the outside in very different ways. you know, I mean, even like you can see it oftentimes, even like with disasters. Like I had, you know, earthquake, right? I was in the middle of the Northridge earthquake here, and you know, I could hear, you know, people can panic and freak out. I had a meditation practice, and I went into it immediately. I stood under a doorway. Of course, I had the sense to do that, but I immediately went into it, and I found myself in this core place of absolute, like the eye of the storm, where I was grounded into safety, and then I was actually spreading safety, energy of safety to everybody around me, right? I became something that instead of being in reactionary victim to the earth shaking, I became a grounded source that spread safety around me, to myself and to everything around me. Whereas I could hear other screaming outside initially, right? People that were freaked. And I just went into this place to sort of have a completely different experience. And it was actually one of the most powerful experiences of my life, even though it was just went tangent again. But I don't know, does that
Yeah, this chapter went into like that golf story and everything, and there's a lot of insights with this chapter, and it really it gives a mental exercise on how you really have your heart-to-heart with yourself. So you have to answer those questions that really challenge you, and he I believe he gives some insights of some of those questions, and really allows you to answer it true to yourself. There's some questions that that you ask yourself these questions on your belief, like, is there a rational reason for such a belief? Could it be mistaken? Could it be that I'm mistaken with this belief? You know, just different questions that challenge you to really get a deeper insights for that. And yeah, there's great stories on that golf story and everything that goes through it. But on the next chapter, I don't have much time, but we'll have a few more questions to ask here. Chapter 6 goes to how to relax and let your automatic success mechanism work for you. So you determine that thing that can and shall be done, and we shall find the way. I love that quote from Abraham Lincoln. In fact, he gives a lot of quotes at the beginning of the chapter, and sometimes they're mixed about. And he quotes a lot from Abraham Lincoln. So I think that it really goes into the author and how they apply some of those quotes into the discussion here. This one talks about the natural behavior and skill. It's discussed in how you learn and how you determine how this affects your self-image. And I'm probably going to talk here in a minute about perfection. On, you know, how do you determine how you want to get perfect at something, you know? So this chapter really goes into that. How do you determine that natural behavior that you have and the skill that you're learning? Do you have anything you want to come out and share with that?
Oh, my brain is I'm going to back up here so that I can actually, I'm about to lose juice here, and I don't want us to disconnect. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have backup power when you do Hangout.
Backup power. Yeah. Where's the backup power?
We're about burning our Hangout today.
Yeah. You know, I may actually. Well, I may have to go off screen in a second here on that. But I'll quickly. What was the question? I just got distracted.
It talks about the natural behavior that you have and what you learn as your skill in order to, you know, see your self-image. And he gives a lot of that.
Yeah, you know what, for me, and this is just something I've just recently gone through, because, you know, I've been learning a whole new skill in doing what it is that we do in our business. I mean, I didn't come from being, you know, doing anything online. I just didn't. I had zero experience in it. And experience in other areas. The one thing that I held on to was learn. The identity thing that I chose to keep is that is telling myself that I can, and then it doesn't matter. It's okay, because if I have when I have the perspective, instead of going, oh, it's technical and I don't know this stuff, and that's only, you know, I let go of it quickly when someone pointed out that I was going there, and I went, I can learn. And so then it's okay to ask questions, because the part of the process of, if you feel like you're intelligent and you know that you can learn, right? then it's okay to ask questions, and it's necessary to ask questions in order to figure things out, or to look and say, you know what, I'll rewind that, or I'll Google that, or I'll ask someone's experience or expertise on this and say, have I got this right? Or I just letting go of any concerns about looking stupid if I ask a question. It's like every time I hear somebody going, well, I feel stupid if I ask a question, I immediately know that they have a self-image of themselves as feeling stupid, or they wouldn't even have that. And that, in a way, is the biggest hindrance for anybody watching this. If you've ever said to yourself, oh, I feel stupid if I ask a question, I'm just going to challenge you right in your face right here to say that you've got something inside of you where you believe that you're stupid. And I'll tell you right now, nobody is. I don't believe anybody is stupid. I don't think there is such a thing. I don't care, what your IQ or whatever is. Everybody is. If you have something on you that is, like, if you have this perception that you can't learn, like when I temporarily had this view of myself that I couldn't learn anything technical, right? I was blocked. I could not see what was in front of me. I literally couldn't see, like, instructions that were right in front of me, step by step, clear instructions. And the moment I lifted that and said, you know what, I can learn. Like even this Hangout, I'm going to use this as an example, because a little tech of something like this at the exact same time, okay? And inside of myself for a long time, where, oh, that's overwhelming. Alicia just had that inside of her. Didn't have that self-image, and she just went ahead and did it. When I finally got around, and I had the a year later, and I just went, I'd had enough where I'd realized I'd learned enough personal development work to go, you know what? I bet I can do this. And I went back to the same instructions that I was given in the beginning. Exact same thing. And I went and nothing was different. And I did it. And it wasn't because I was more clearly advanced. Honestly, it wasn't, because I'd never done this before ever. I just had the confidence to know that if I followed something and I paused and I did one thing and I did the next, I just one at a time, all anything learned next. It was very powerful. It was actually one of the most things, and I realized I could do that. Alicia, you remember this? Like, it's like all of a sudden I was able to someone they could assist in doing things, and so I just think it's really. I know I've gone on a tangent here again, but I feel like that was a powerful shift in the ability to learn, just the discipline that I could learn. And I think that's for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't show. It's that decision that you're capable of learning, not basing myself, because I would compare myself to Alicia, right? I did compare you because you learned you would do it quickly, right? And I was like, you know what? Just because she does it quickly, got to doing it faster than me, doesn't mean that I can't learn this and still do it, right? I stopped comparing myself to other people's speed of implementation, right? And the moment I stopped comparing myself, I was able to implement. I was able to actually do things that before I had this massive, it was like fuzz. Everything was fuzzy in front of me, and I just the information wasn't going in, right? I was blocking it by my self-perception of what was possible. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yep.
Because if you're not open to learn that skill and know that you're be perfected or it doesn't come natural, you are blocked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this big wall. It's like and then it's like the fog lifts, and it was right in front of you all along. Woohoo!
Let's walk up the rainbow now. It's brand new.
I'm going to lead you into talking for. Let's see. Wait a second. If you can you close off my video for just a sec, because I'm going to be running around
we got to
here.
head off. If there's any other powerful insights that you guys have, I know we went through half the chapter. We may do it next week. I don't know. We may do it another time, because this is just a powerful book and I love it. I hope you guys got a big insights on the self-image. Come back with us next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and click the link below and get connected with us inside of the Millionaire Mindset Hangout and all the resources that we have available for you guys.
Yeah, and let us know your thoughts, your aha moments, anything that triggered insight of your experiences, of anything that we talked about below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for coming. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Woohoo!